Hey everyone, welcome to the PFF Betting Podcast. I am your host, Kendall Ben, joined by PFF data scientist Ben Brown and Eric Eager. Today on the show, we are going to be breaking down some college football bowl games along with the playoffs, hitting some early Week 15 NFL action, and giving you all our favorite parlays, little early parlays. So let's get into it. Football fans, I'm sure we all love an action-packed, high-scoring NFL game, but with the latest no-brainer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, you'll be a winner once a single point is scored. New customers who bet just $1 on any team to score can win $100 in free bets. It's just that simple. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still get in on the NFL action. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF. Bet $1 on any team to score and win $100 in free bets if they score. You score with promo code PFF this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, I need to know how your guys' Week 14 went. This is a time to brag. This is a time to tell us how NFL Greenline did, everything like that. Eric, I'll start with you.
Yeah, NFL Greenline was, I think, down 3 units. We actually picked, so it's weird, we picked up the LA money line once that thing got to 3, that price got to 1 plus 136. We missed out on under tonight. We also, for a while there, we did have, so this is an interesting thing about this product. So we had Bears money line and Bears ATS, and I know that those didn't win. However, during the middle of that game, obviously, you could have gotten a nice little sort of you could have gotten Green Bay at prices that could have bought you completely off of that, because they did end up sort of having quite a day. So, it was, what were some ones that killed us there? Tampa Bay under was one that, if Tampa Bay just hangs onto that lead, that sticks. But it was otherwise, I mean, it was fine for the most part. The Washington under hit on that missed extra point by them, but then plus 6.5 closed did not hit so it was just one of those days. But yeah, sort of on the season, the two products are still up, and we're moving on to bowl week.
I love it. Ben, anything from Week 14, or you just kind of want to move on?
I kind of just want to move on, to be honest with you. I will agree with Eric, the Packers game. I did get some Packers minus 2.5 in game when they were down quite a bit. So maybe that's a little spot to get in the middle.
We don't even want to talk about the fact that our Hamilton Ticats were up 12 points halfway through the fourth quarter. And not only did not win the Grey Cup, but they didn't even cover 3.5 because the game went into overtime and they lost by 8. So
pain.
Sums it up.
But then Army Navy went under. So it was the good times and the bad, as they say.
You take them where you can get them. So I respect that. All right, then we'll move on because it is college football bowl games are starting up. We are going to go from games starting on Friday, right, guys, until Monday. So we've got the Friday through Monday slate, and there's a handful of things. I mean, I saw on PFF's best bets tools some value on the under in the Bahamas Bowl, maybe a slight edge on the UAB Blazers. So, Eric, I'll start with you with some of your favorite picks for this weekend's bowl games.
Yeah. So Friday, you get an absolute privilege, noon Eastern. We're all still at work, right? I even think, Kendall, we're going to be on the PFF College live show, which you can watch every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern on YouTube or Twitter. The game's going to start while we're on this show at 12 p.m. It's the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders against our colleague Bruce Gradkowski's Toledo Rockets. That total was at 52. Now it's 51.5. We still like under that, but Ben and I think have bet a decent amount on under 52 in that game. That's one I do really like. Middle Tennessee historically has been kind of a faster team, but this past season, more of their games have played, to the under. That's really the only thing we like on that Friday, which obviously people will scoff at, considering how much we like the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, who play later against the MAC champion Northern Illinois Huskies. But yeah, that's the one we like Friday. Saturday, a lot has opened up here, and I think some of it comes from a little bit of motivation issues too, right? So you look at, for example, 11 a.m. Eastern. Again, these games go from wire to wire. The Appalachian State Mountaineers laying 3 against the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Both teams, I believe, Ben, lost their conference title game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Yeah, that is correct.
And so you have Appalachian State. They like open 2.5. It's been bet out to 3. We still like them at -3. Total on the game 68. Now, the tricky thing about 68 and why I have not bet it, even though I think our numbers like the under, Bailey Zapp is one of the stories of college football. And he's been absolutely, I know in the conference title game against UTSA, the Roadrunners, that game was had no chance of going under. And I think that's the fear here at 11 a.m., on Saturday, the 18th.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. It does sound like Bailey Zapp's going to play. Obviously is, pushing for Joe Burrow's single season touchdown record, which is kind of an interesting angle. It doesn't sound like there's too many other aspects as far as opt-outs, coaches leaving, those sorts of things in this matchup. But I do still think maybe the under 68, 68.5 is where it opened. I do think the under 68 is definitely the viable play, but I got to go back to what Eric said about the Friday game. 51.5, I do still think is a decent play in that Toledo Middle Tennessee game. And then Coastal Carolina, it's kind of tough to bet without, certainty that Grayson McCall is going to play, right? I do think that's kind of the factor now that we have spreads and totals coming out for all the bowl games. They've been kind of stale for the last couple of days, is kind of playing it from the perspective of, well, is there any news that has broken recently, and how should that impact both the spread and total? So we'll see if we get some information right before kickoff. But other than that, I don't really feel like we can play Coastal Carolina at, almost a 10-point spread differential without certainty that Grayson McCall is going to be in there at quarterback.
Okay. What about Oregon State? It looks like maybe the under. Oregon State, Utah State Aggies?
Yeah. And that was the Utah State under killed us on conference championship week. Was 49.5 against San Diego State. There wasn't a point until the middle of the second quarter. And then all of a sudden Utah State just opened an absolute can on San Diego State, Austin Gale's beloved Aztecs. But in this one, I think if you think about the motivation of this one, Oregon State, not a ton to play for. Utah State probably a little pissed off that they couldn't win the Mountain West. And you look at, what was our favorite team, Kendall, on the PFF College Live Show. We liked Utah a lot. Yeah. Utah lost to 2 Mountain West teams this year. And so I think the disparities between the Pac-12, no offense, Kendall, the Pac-12 and the Mountain West are not as big as before. So I think Utah State might even be the side here at +7, even though I don't think our models show a value. As Ben said, for some of these bowl games, you do want to sort of add in a little bit of sort of situational handicapping. And I think Utah State wanting to Utah State sort of wanting to finish a great season, is probably a little bit to back here.
Nice. Any other ones you guys are looking at, or else we'll move on to the college football playoffs?
Anything I gotta give a shout out. I do like the UAB Blazers. Always going to, +7 basically against BYU. I do think they're a decent spot. If we're going all the way out to Monday night, I do think Old Dominion facing off against Tulsa, 8.5-point dogs right now. Sam Crawford Jr., best wide receiver for Tulsa, he's going to be out. So I do think Old Dominion is probably definitely a live dog here on Monday. And then final play, I think Fresno State's looking like they're obviously going to be without head coach Kalen DeBoer
and Jake, quarterback.
That's Hainer, I think right? Yeah, I think that's the question mark. I would expect him. I think he has announced that he's probably going to transfer. It sounds like he's maybe trying to walk that back a little bit. He might suit up and not play or something like that. But given the fact that they're all the way out or down to 11.5-point favorites, I don't think that's quite enough. So I do think UTEP is probably a play here on Saturday as well. So I think you got to go with all dogs greater than, a touchdown differential are probably the correct plays for these early bowl games from my perspective.
And one thing too, like, let's say, and I've done this a little bit, like if your normal unit size is, let's say X, for all these games, put like X divided by 4 on the money line for these big dogs, because you do want to profit a little bit if they win outright. And in many cases, like these teams are huge underdogs. Like if it goes sideways right away, they might just win outright. And conversely, like don't lay the money line on the big favorites, even if you like them against the spread. Just bet them against the spread, because you could be, holding the bag for a pretty bad loss.
I was going to say, I got a couple Twitter messages because people were knowing, Eric, that you were coming on. So a lot of them were just asking like, hey, what's your guys' best advice for betting these upcoming bowl games? Because it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you guys have any response to that too, besides what you just said, Eric?
Yeah, I just think limit your losses. Like it's been a long season already. Hopefully hopefully your accounts are still, flush, but like, it's spread out too, right? Like, and so know that like, if you have a rough, first game, let's say on Friday, don't take the rest of your bankroll and try to make it up on Friday night. Like you're still going to have the rest of the bowl season. You want to get to even the college football playoff games, or let's say the NFL playoff games. Like you want to still have money left. So don't go too over the top. All these games feel like a finality, and they are for the teams that are playing. They're not the finality for you as a bettor. So make sure that you're still being disciplined with that stuff. And I would say for all of these, don't lay big money line favorites. Just if you like the favorite, like I do, I like Bama against Cincinnati, of course, lay the 13.5 points. Don't lay the, the minus 500 or whatever. So that would be my big advice.
Sweet. And we got to take your advice. Like, it's just, you don't take it with a grain of salt. You just bankroll it right away. So let's go on then to the college football playoffs. Per PFF's power rankings, we have Alabama leading the charge with a 44% chance to take home the national title. Georgia behind them at 38%, and Michigan coming in at 14%. And our Cincinnati Bearcats, they have a whopping 4% chance to win the college football playoffs. Ben, what say you about just the upcoming games and what you think of them so far?
Yeah, definitely. I do think Alabama's going to roll in that matchup against Cincinnati, minus 13.5 right now. I do think that if you're betting on anybody, Alabama has to be it right now. Obviously, they've shown enough, both offensively and defensively, have by far the best quarterback in the college football playoffs. So I definitely lean in their direction. Obviously, it doesn't feel great to lay, almost 2 touchdowns in the semifinal matchup here, but I do think this is definitely the spot to do it. In the second game, I don't know. I'm a little, obviously Greenline likes Michigan. I don't know. I still think there's something to Georgia's defense against an offense that I don't necessarily think is all that great. We have, Michigan's ranking 32nd overall in PFF's opponent adjusted offensive rating. I think that's the kind of offense that Georgia could definitely take advantage of from a defensive perspective. If they get 1 or 2 turnovers, they could easily, win by 2 touchdowns as well, kind of setting up that SEC championship game rematch. So I lean with Greenline heavily on the Alabama side, not so much on the Michigan side. I am kind of curious what Eric is handicapping these matchups at right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the percentages, as Kendall's saying, like there's one place where there's actually an edge to bet the future market, which is in Michigan, right? So we make Michigan a 14%. That's about plus 615 on DraftKings, or sorry, on DraftKings, it's plus 700. So there's a little bit of an edge there. But as anybody will tell you, like the better bet is in this case to roll over the money line. And you can do the calculation yourself. So if you bet, if you do like Michigan, bet them in the game sort of against Georgia, at something like plus 250, which we find value on. Actually 4% edge is a better value there. And then take those winnings and bet them on whatever it is against Alabama. There could be a situation where, you get more information. Let's say Michigan wins, but somebody gets hurt or something. You just want to be able to opt out of that bet as opposed to sort of hedging at the end. But yeah, I mean, here's my thing about Georgia. Like we've only seen their defense tested once, and and it failed. And Michigan is not a great offense, but when you look at EPA, for example, like they They're basically the same EPA as Georgia against running the football, a little bit less passing, but I think some of that is also just the way in which the Big Ten is played. I mean, Cade McNamara has more big time throws as a percentage of his plays than Stetson Bennett and JT Daniels did. And frankly, JT Daniels, like the one thing I think in this game where you can say, okay, here's where the edge is. Georgia quarterbacks this year, when pressured, have a 29.4 passer rating, which is 10 points worse than what you would have if you just, spike the ball. And obviously led by Aiden Hutchinson, like Michigan's pass rushers are as good as they get in college football. Mm-hmm. And so if they can get pressure, that to me, I think that's the edge there. They haven't been tested in this way, right? They got tested in the SEC title game by being outrun by a good offense. Here, they could get out defense, and Michigan, I think, has the complementary offense that can really help them win. If they hold Georgia like under 14 points or something like that, like I think they win.
So that's their Achilles heel to you. You think if they play hard enough against that defense that they go down? Yeah,
I think like if Michigan gets pressure on Georgia and forces a few turnovers, like Georgia's quarterbacks this year, 3.25% of their dropbacks are turnover-worthy plays. Michigan just 1.75. So I just think Michigan is less fragile to some of the issues when they play a defensive game. And so if there's a turnover on one side or the other, I mean, Michigan is fourth in the country in opponent adjusted defensive rankings. That's good enough to me. And so if I'm going to get the variance of a plus 250 bet, I'm going to take it.
Ben, any other advice before we move on from the college football playoffs?
I think that's good. I think, I mean, it definitely matches up with what I'm thinking, more so now. I do think, Eric buys into Michigan more than I do, but I do think if you're betting, a spread in that match, but definitely think that Michigan is the correct side for sure. So if you like them in the futures market, definitely roll it over, because I do think they're going to probably be close to 2 touchdown underdogs again against Alabama in that, championship game. So roll it over if you can. If not, just take Alabama, because they're where it's at right now, I think, from my perspective. So
Eric going against Dave Solfaro in the office, it's just going to be tough to see, Eric. It's just going to be hard. It's going to be hard to explain.
I'm going with Michigan in the first okay. round. I actually don't know, whether or not I would go against. If Bama had Michigan, I wonder what the spread would be. I mean,
that's a lot of it's 13.
Yeah, but a lot of it, right. I mean, well, actually it'd probably be more, 13, right? Because we see right now. Yeah, I don't know.
8.5. We have an 8.5 based on our power rankings metric, basically. Right. So I think it would probably push up more. It depends on how bad Alabama kind of beats Cincinnati, I think, is kind of the main.
Right, and Cincinnati's plucky. Like we've seen, I mean, think about how irrational the betting markets have been in the sense that when Bama barely beats Auburn in the Iron Bowl, Georgia's spread moved by 3.5 points. So if let's say, because right now this 13.5 they're laying against Cincinnati is probably overreacting to how badly they beat Georgia in the SEC title game. If Cincinnati versus Alabama is a 1-score game, they might significantly reduce the power rankings to say, look, we don't know that much. And if Michigan blew out Georgia or something like that, then you could get this thing under a touchdown. So, and in which case I'd take Bama. But if it's 14, I'd take Michigan. I don't think it's going to get to 14 because I think Michigan's obviously better than Cincinnati. But yeah, it does. I don't know. But yeah, for right now, we are aligned with the solve. But who knows what'll happen in January if they get so far.
Interesting. All right. Well, then let's move on to week 15. Ben, I want to give you credit though. You did have a good Monday Night Football, parlay going and everything like that. So I do want to give you credit there for what you said on Monday's podcast, because you hit Hopkins, you hit Cup ×3. The only thing you didn't hit was Ertz. So I'm going to give you credit there. You didn't give yourself enough.
Our podcast parlay did hit. I tried to press the edges basically by taking Cooper Kupp 13 plus receptions and over 125 receiving yards. So I guess I'm just bitter right now. My own personal role with Eric basically, but I'll move on. I'm glad the listeners are hopefully happy and swimming into cash really basically.
Absolutely.
Right? So
I think that Ben, I actually told my wife Stephanie this the other day. I go, because I was talking to her about betting and stuff, and she said, "Oh, well, how's Ben?" I go, "Ben's a better than me." Because Ben, you make those bets that are obscure, and yeah, of course, the 250 to win $3,000. like doesn't hit all the time, but it hits.
Feels
enough.
like it should, right?
It hits enough, and I feel like you do such a better job of identifying those like long tail sort of wagers, and so I have to give you credit here publicly for that. I do think you have that gumption there that I admire.
Some people call it degeneracy. Some people call it gumption. I'll take whatever I can get right now. I definitely appreciate the kind words, though. So
we're with Eric. I'm with Eric. Like, I appreciate it because when you sent the screenshot, I felt your pain, and I was just like, that was a group loss. That was a group loss. Well, week 15 is here. Odds are live. As the forecasts love to say, the best time to bet them is right now before the lines move. So, Eric, I'll start with you on this one. What's your take on week 15? What are you kind of looking at in specific games?
Yeah, here's one, because you're getting Saturday football this week in the NFL, and I think there's a game that I really do like insofar as the total right away, and that's the Cleveland Las Vegas Raiders. I know Saturday in Cleveland, right around like 4:00. You're going to get some wind. It's about 17 miles an hour. It's 39 degrees. So that could hamper it. But you're talking about a total that's extremely low there in 42.5. You're talking about a Raiders team. Derek Carr still leads the NFL in big time throws. I think Las Vegas is competent in this one. I don't think they match up well with the Chiefs. And so I see this game going over the total. I like that one. More than I like any of the offerings in New England, Indianapolis. So that's my favorite, like sort of early week one. As far as the rest of the week, here's one that you're probably going to like. I think this is going to be a huge letdown spot for the Rams after a big win tonight on Monday Night Football. I like Seattle. I already took them at +7. I'll still take them at +6.5. I think they figured it out a little bit, and I think that the familiarity there, late season games in the division, I think Seattle keeps that game close. I don't know if they win, but I think they keep that game close in LA.
Things I love to hear. Is Russ cooking? Is that what we're saying?
He might just be buying takeout right now, but like, who knows? Like he's certainly consuming. Let's say.
Okay. I'll accept consuming. Ben, what about you? What are you looking at for week 15?
I am interested in that Seattle game. I wonder if that's going to go over. Greenline does like that one to go over right now. I'm kind of interested to see what Eric thinks, how that game's actually going to play out. I think my favorite bet, this is a little bit of a Kendall connection here, but Cincinnati, Denver over 43.5, two current and former hometown for Kendall, I guess. But I like 43.5. Both defenses basically sit in the back half of the NFL and our opponent just defensive grades. I like Cincinnati's offense when Zach Taylor, kind of allows Burrow out of the pocket, kind of get throwing deep and those sorts of things. So I do think if we see this game pace up just a little bit, 43.5 is going to fall quickly. I do think that is probably one of my favorite early week bets that we haven't discussed right now.
I like that one too. In Denver, ball's going to be flying. Mile High City.
By a lot. Good field goals. They're going to be pure. So
I love that. I love that. Any parlays? I really need these. I really need these early parlays. If you guys have any.
Well, here's the thing. There are offerings on our friends at Caesars, and if you're anybody who lives kind of in this region, Cincinnati, Indiana, you can go to Indiana, for example. You can go where Ben lives in Iowa. Any place that has Caesars, they have these odds boosts, and here's a few that I already have. I have a Middle Tennessee wins and Northern Illinois wins and boosted out to 17 to 1. So that's a Friday parlay special there. As I said before, bowl season, if you're going to bet dogs, and you don't even have to like the sides here. You're just getting a better bet. It's like a teaser in that sense. You're just getting good odds. Especially in bowl season, if they give you one of these parlays that has an underdog in it, the other one I have, this one's for Friday, Appalachian State, Fresno State, UAB win, that's 13-2. So plus 650. Again, that's one that I've already bought into. I like two of those sides, but I'll take two sides I like plus an odds boost, for 6.5 to 1.
Love that. Ben, any?
I'm gonna go.
Or are we just rolling?
I'm rolling with the college football one as well. I do think UTEP plus 11.5 UAB +7, Old Dominion +9.5. Ride the dogs here all weekend to kick off bowl season. I do think that those three are all going to get home if they do +596. And you could probably sprinkle in one or two money lines as well. That's definitely where I would be leaning if you're looking for a little parlay action here, of course, coming up here on Saturday and Sunday.
And who isn't? Who isn't looking for a little parlay action? Let's be honest.
I'm not really right now, to be honest with you. I'm over it right now, but we'll see.
If you're out of town with your relatives, some of them you might like, some of them you might not like. I mean, there's nothing better than, I think nothing brings people together than a little bit of college football bowl games where you don't know any of the players.
The Bahamas Bowl. Nothing brings more people together than the Bahamas Bowl. So
that's right.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much, Eric, Ben, as always, everyone. We will see you next time.